So, like with your initiative, you had mentioned that you hope to expand into new markets. What do you have any new markets in mind, or?
So there's a couple of things. In some cases we're talking about novel products that haven't existed before. So then, the opportunity is very significant. In other instances, we're talking about milk components that might be used in products that currently aren't. But there's all sorts of markets in terms of new innovations in products. There's also a lot of things that won't have anything to do with new markets, but basically bettering the bottom line for dairy farmers or processors. If you can figure out a new efficiency in your equipment or your process that saves money for everything you produce, that betters the bottom line and makes it easier to make ends meet. And we got to look at all of that when we're talking about innovation. And then part of it, part of this is microgrants. Part of it is also technical assistance to cheesemakers and farmers, other processors. Say they have a new business idea. They want to use their farmstead to process their milk and not just send it off farm. Well, you need a business plan. You need some support, and this program will also provide that.
What are the specifics of the program again?
Yeah, so basically the first step was to identify these hubs of innovation across the country, and Wisconsin put in a very competitive application. And it's basically a collaboration between the Wisconsin Cheesemakers Association and the University of Wisconsin's Dairy Research Center. And they're going to basically operate the program with partners across the state. And frankly, it's kind of a Midwest region thing, so it'll be some activity outside of the state too. About half of the funds will be used for training and technical assistance, and that'll be everything from a one-on-one, help somebody do a business plan, to small groups. But the bottom line is all of those things are going to be either free or very low cost, because our dairy farmers and processors have very little excess cash these days. It's a very hard time. And then the other part is a grant and sometimes micro-grant program to actually help implement something. Okay, so the idea is here, it's well developed, but you need a little help to get across the finish line and start that innovation.
Why is this going to be a good thing, a great thing for a state like Wisconsin, where so much of the economy is dairy based?
Yeah, we are America's dairy land, as you point out. The fact that we're losing dairy farms at the rate of almost 3 a day, and that we've lost 1,700 in the last 3 years is it's a tragedy. And I feel like we're also losing some of our diversity in dairy farming. A lot of the folks who have had to close their farm operations have been small or medium-sized farms. And I have to say, I disagree with Sonny Perdue, our USDA secretary, when he says you have to get big or else. I think one of our strengths is our diversity. And one of the things that you can do often in a small or medium-sized operation that you can't do in the large scale is have artisan cheese making, specialty dairy items. So I think that the innovation is what keeps especially small and medium-sized dairies relevant, and that at this point in time it's such an essential thing for us to invest in.
What would you say to those small and medium operations, the mom-and-pop operations, that are not looking to change? Does the innovation initiative, is the idea that everybody needs to be pursuing some new, business line, or?
So I can tell you that I know very few small and medium-sized operations that are financially healthy right now. Dairy farmers are very used to weathering the ups and downs. We've had 5 years of a down. If you have ups and downs, you save on the good days, and that helps you stretch through the bad days. But you'd have to have saved up a lot of money to make it through the last 5 years. So I know very few that aren't looking to change things up in a way that helps them continue. That said, the other big issue, especially with all of Wisconsin's workforce having challenges with aging, A lot of our dairy farmers are getting to the time that they might enjoy a retirement and not necessarily having a child or a relative who wants to take over. So this succession planning is another issue that we should be looking at. But again, yes, if you're like don't want to change the way you've done it, we're not forcing this on anyone. It's a voluntary program. But I can't think of very many folks who aren't trying to change something up in order to be able to survive.
And you mentioned the increase in funding
Yes.
is huge. Maybe tell us about that since we've got you mic'd up now.
Yes, absolutely. So I'm honored to sit on the Agriculture Appropriations Subcommittee, and just a few weeks ago when we had a chance to pass the bill through committee, I was able to secure a very significant increase in funding for this innovation program in the dairy industry, up to $20 million, which is really a tenfold increase over what we were able to secure last year for getting the program off the ground. This will certainly really scale up the program and allow assistance and training and grant funding to a lot more people.
Any other questions?
All right.
Oh,
One more.
Real quick, what are your thoughts on Wisconsin sending troops to the Ukraine?
Who has proposed that?
I did.
That must have been breaking news in the last couple of hours. There's obviously been a lot of international developments in the last few weeks. The issue that has been receiving a lot of attention is the fact that Congress approved and the Defense Department approved a multi-million-dollar aid package for the Ukraine to help them be secure when Russia is on their border and in Crimea. And sadly, the administration held up the delivery of those funds, leaving Ukraine very vulnerable. And we know from a telephone conversation log between our president and the president of the Ukraine that there was discussions of favors for political purposes, and I don't think we should ever have our national security and the security of our elections placed in jeopardy. So I'm glad that that's being inquired into.
Any comment at all regarding the troops by the Syrian border in regards to protecting the Kurds?
Yeah, well, I was actually in Turkey last week, and it was before this announcement was made, but I know that we were very concerned about the consequences of Turkey just moving in troops to this northeast section of Syria. The implications are quite scary. First of all, there's a lot of ISIS fighters who are in the area, and whether they would, spread across the region if there's military action taking there, creating another major challenge for the area. We don't know, and that's a big concern. So I saw, late one night, the president tweet about his change in foreign policy there, and then getting roundly criticized by people of every party. He sort of drew back yesterday. I certainly think that he should be following the advice of both his diplomats and his military experts on this. This is not an area where he should be going it alone without having it grounded in some policy to, protect our national security too.